preview. West Ham versus Brighton, Premier League, and a big game for West Ham. It really is. It's one that's presented itself, a huge opportunity has presented itself to the club with results that have gone our way. Obviously, our recent wins as well. It's really opened up an opportunity for the club to really be within the mix of a top pack of sides fighting for European places. It really does. And look, it's not ideal because we've got a few issues in terms of players being away, not being available, injuries as well. But it is what it is. We're going to have to deal with it. It's still a huge opportunity. And you look at the Premier League table at the moment, my word, I'm just going to share it on my screen with you now. West Ham obviously sitting in 6th place, but you look at the points now. If West Ham are able to beat Brighton and get to 36 points, then my word, you look in the place below us, Manchester United would be 5 points ahead of them. 5 bloody points, you know what I mean? A team below us, Manchester United, it gets 6 points above Brighton, 7 above Newcastle and 8 above Chelsea. I mean, that would be an unbelievable position to be in and a real strength, considering the fact after this we've got Sheffield United. It's a massive game for West Ham. As I say, the unfortunate part of it is that we've got issues in terms of our squad at the moment. We'll come to that in a bit. But let's talk about Brighton. Let's start off as we usually do. Let's talk about the opposition a little bit. I mean, a remarkable football club. Really have just been excellent since they come to the Premier League. I mean, they've been an absolute thorn in our bloody side for quite some time, and many other clubs. They have just been absolutely excellent. A friend I know used to work with as a Brighton fan. I remember him; he's been season ticket all his life, and he was saying years ago about they were gearing up for the Premier League. They'd always been sort of striving to sort of take those next steps, and I didn't really realise it in terms of until they came up how well run they are and how structured they are and how the vision for their future, how well planned it all is. You know, at Brighton, it's just something you've got to admire, and they just don't seem to miss a beat as a club. They really don't. I mean, they have been absolutely rinsed in terms of their staff, their playing staff especially, by the other top clubs. Chelsea especially have come in and absolutely kicked them to bits. And yet, look at them. They're just carrying on. And there's even talk, I mean, I've kind of said it myself. They're not quite as good as they were last season, not quite the level they were. They're 3 points off West Ham. And, we're considering our start excellent, really, really positive in how we're sitting on 33 points. Brighton on 30 at the midway point of the season. It's amazing. And this is supposed to be the season they're struggling. I mean, we're talking about a club that when they came up, was there much expectation for them to stay in the Premier League for a long period? I don't think so. I think many were sort of thinking, like a lot of they do with the promoted sides, how are they going to fare? Not quite sure. But they are a very well-established Premier League team now. I mean, and it's the conveyor belt. It's the fact they always seem to know who to bring in. Whether they lose anybody, it's just that they get the right players in, they get the right staff in. They're just a club that you can't help but admire. And no, very, very good. And, West Ham are going to be in for a very, very tough game. I mean, you look at the players they've lost. McAllister and Caicedo, obviously being sort of the two that's to come to mind straight away, but you wouldn't know. I mean, it's their midfielder last season, and yet you wouldn't think it when you watch them play. They're just such a well-oiled machine, and they've got obviously a very good manager as well. Bearing in mind as well, this season they've been in the Europa League like we have. They topped their group like we did. They're in now the last 16. These things are sort of not being really shouted about too much, but you consider the fact where they are. They're literally, the difference between us and them is 3 points in the Premier League. That's it. And we're sort of going, wow, what a season we are having. And this is a season that many are sort of going, Brighton, well, they're not quite where they were and probably not quite at the level they need to be at. And, well, it says a lot, doesn't it, about a football club like Brighton now. I mean, really, really incredible. I love the way that they incorporate the local businesses as well into help. And they sort of like partner up with them. So when you go to their ground, all the local sort of, all the food within the stadium is all local supply, it's supplied by local businesses. The beer is the local brewery and all these kind of things. I just think that's a really lovely model. And I'll tell you what, it's fantastic, really is. And yeah, as I've said, though, they've been a bloody thorn for us, haven't they, over the years, last few years, Brighton. They really have, a team that we always dread playing. But earlier this season, this is obviously the return fixture now. Earlier this season at the Amex, we got our result finally there, 3-1, and we were excellent on that day. Really, really good. The plan worked to a T, didn't it? The lethal counter attacking that we put in place, and it was a great day, and really sort of set the tone for this season. Really, exactly what we needed. But so I'm really hoping that we just keep that going. You get that feeling if we can just get this result done as well, it would actually mean a little bit more in that regard. Obviously, it'd be fantastic for the league position. Of course, that's the most important part. But it'd be nice to sort of go, you've beaten Brighton twice this season now. You kind of draw a line under that. Like, they're our hoodoo team. We really struggle to beat them. We don't want to keep playing it. So I really hope that West Ham can deliver this. But as I said, we are up against it. We've got some issues. Before I go on to West Ham, though, quickly, just a few players I want to talk about with Brighton. Evan Ferguson, an unbelievably talented player for his age. Strong, powerful striker. Just see nothing but a really bright future for him. He really is excellent. And, I've got nothing but good words to say about him. A player I highly admire, along with Solly March as well, who's just such a key cog to the Brighton machine. And Lewis Dunk as well, a player that we were very much interested in once upon a time. Thought we were going to get him, to be honest. He has been a remarkable player for Brighton and seems so settled there and just epitomised everything they're doing at the moment. And yeah, really impressed with him. Really, really am. And as I say, there's so many players in Brighton I do admire, but there's sort of three I've just picked out. On to West Ham, though. Let's talk about Arsenal. Talk about that last win. I mean, that was a great, great result, and it's really lifted the mood. And I think it's not only lifted things, it's also just instilled some belief. There's a feeling of I don't know, we can dream a little bit now. That is one of them results you go, blimey. We went there and turned over the title chase in Arsenal, and we did it well. And look, we can talk about VAR and Arsenal weren't quite at it and all that crap. I don't want to keep hearing things like that, okay? West Ham played really well, deserved it. We dug in. We played against a very good side on their turf, and we turned them over, and we were fully deserved that win. And I don't think anything can be taken away from it. And I'll tell you what, that win has just given that feeling of we can do something this season. We really can. It was excellent, really, really important. And it's carried on our very good form. It's 3 wins on the spin now in the league, 3 clean sheets as well. It's exactly what we need. And we're going to need that because we need that belief going into a game where we're losing a couple of key players by the looks of it for this Brighton game. And let's be honest, even though being at home, this is a bloody hard test. This is going to be very, very tough. I've just been talking about, how well organised they are as a team, and they are excellent, and how well they are doing despite losing key players in the summer. So we're right up against it. Of course, we've got the news as well. David Moyes, his contract. I mean, it's not official yet, but it appears that it's heading in the direction where he's going to be given a new contract. Look, it's a big divide amongst the fans. I don't really know exactly all the percentages, how it all works out exactly. Moyes in, Moyes out, people are unsure, whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, a bit of stability probably wouldn't hurt us as well, but to settle things down. Just so we know where we are. There's always uncertainty doesn't really help, does it? Especially for playing staff, you can imagine could be a bit confusing. So I wonder the impact that will have on the team going into the second half of the season. You'd imagine it would have a positive impact, but obviously for some players, possibly not. But as the whole, you imagine it might give a little bit of it'll calm things down and just to get rid of that sort of that seed of doubt, And now we're in the January transfer window. Which is obviously an opportunity. We talked about this a little bit earlier when we talked about the Jadon Sancho video. It's an opportunity for the club to push on, to reinvest, to really capitalise on the situation that we find ourselves in, i.e. an opportunity to be in the top 6 this season, possibly even top 5. Top 5 will get you Champions League possibly this season. We can't just squander it. We can't just turn our nose up at it and go, yeah, we're doing fine, don't worry about it. West Ham have got to do well in that market. And look, this is a very, very good time. But we have got issues in the squad as well. We've got issues in terms of Africa Cup of Nations, as we know. Players going away now. Fagurd's gone. Mohamed Kudus is not going to be available. He's gone away, although the club were trying to get an arrangement done with Chris Hughton, obviously our former player. But it's been able to do so. So it looks like that he's gone. He's not going to be available for the Brighton game, which is a real blow. And of course, we've got injuries as well, which is a problem. Mikel Antonio is not available by looks of it. I don't think he's going to be featuring just yet, which is a real shame because this is something that's really dragging on and just bad timing really now because we need the players back to deal with the players that we're going to be losing. Lucas Paqueta, of course, as well. A bit of uncertainty regarding him at this stage. My gut feeling is that he won't be available, but who knows? Really hope that it might be not. Well, we don't think it's as serious as what it was first feared. The player himself has said it's going to be a week. So there's a chance, but my gut tells me it probably is unlikely at this stage. But this is a big opportunity for West Ham. Make no mistake, this is a really big, big game. It's just a shame that we're not going to have a full-strength side, but you'd like to think we've got enough. We might well have enough to get it over the line. It's going to be very hard against a side like Brighton, but we're at home, which always helps us, under the floodlights, and we're in very, very good form. So it gets down to the team now and the predictions. So, look, as usual, all I'd like you to do is put your team down, who you'd like to see, and your predictions. If you do those, and then you enter into our draw. If you get the prediction right, forget the team prediction. If you get the scoreline right, then you enter our draw, and then we'll just pull the name out of the hat and send you an item from our shop. But this is mine. This is what I'm going to go for. I'm going to go for Areola in goal, which I don't think there's going to be a debate about that. You know, he's been doing well for us, and there's no reason why it needs to be changed. My back line is Soufal right back, Mavropanos and Ogbonna as the central defenders, and Emerson on the left. But just because, you know, we don't know the situation with Zuma at the moment. I don't believe it to be as serious as what some accounts have suggested, that it's going to be months. I don't believe that's the case, but it's still... After the Arsenal performance, I've got no real issue with Mavropanos and Ogbonna. I really don't. I know it's going to be possibly a slightly different game to that, but I still think that they've earned their right. Basically, if Zuma's available, great. I'd put him in if he's completely fresh. That's my gut feeling. That's what I would do. But if he's not available, I'm not having too much of an issue with Ogbonna. After that performance against Arsenal, I thought he was absolutely brilliant, along with Mavropanos. I thought they're both excellent. So I've got no real issues, but that's my choice if Zuma's still not quite at it. If Zuma's not 100%, don't bother risking him, is my opinion. That's what I'm going to go with. Considering the fact that he was supposed to be a little bit unsure about his injury, suggests to me he's probably not going to be available, or he's not going to be 100% anyway. So I wouldn't take that gamble. In midfield, I'm going to go for Alvarez as the defensive midfielder alongside Thomas Souček. James Ward-Prowse playing ahead of them. I'm going to put Bowen out on the right, though, because I'm accommodating the fact that Mohamed Kudus isn't available. I'm putting Divine Mabama up front, and I'm going to have Ben Rama out on the left. It's awkward, this, because I'm picking players that have played potentially could be their last game for the club, and I'm talking about Ben Rama here. It is a shame, but I don't really have much options, unless they go for Cornet, of course. But again, I don't know enough about his availability. It just seems to be so confusing as a player. I mean, he's one I'd rather see go now, because I just don't understand what's gone on with him really ever since he's arrived, to be honest. And I do feel for him, and I feel for a few of the players really. But ultimately, this is what I've gone for, and I think we're hands are tied. We've got to get a result here. And also, Ben Rama actually, I thought, played pretty well against Arsenal. Maybe not to start with initially, but I thought he got into the game. And I think he was all okay. I was just a bit ashamed about his penalty miss, of course. So just to reflect on that, it's Areola in goal, Soufal, Mavropanos, Ogbonna and Emerson in the back, Alvarez and Souček in midfield, James Ward-Prowse playing ahead of them, Bowen out on the right, Ben Rama on the left, and Divine Mabama up front. I think this is going to be a very, very hard game for West Ham. Really tough. I think with losing Paqueta and Kudus is really tough for us to take. We're going to really struggle. But don't get me wrong, we've got Bowen, who's in excellent form. But I'm struggling. I'm struggling to see that lethal side of us, and especially against a side like Brighton, where we know we're going to have to play very well. I'm going to go for a draw on this. I think it's going to be 2-2. I hope I'm wrong. I hope it's a win, because this is a really big opportunity and one we don't want to squander. As I say, put your team down, put the and what you think the score will be, and you enter our draw. Look, it's a big one, a big, big game. We're finding ourselves in a position better than we could have imagined. I think anything we get from the game is decent, really, but 3 points would be amazing. It really would. It would really, really get us in a strong position now. Realistically, for top six talk, we can start talking about it. I think it's as big as that. If West Ham could be on that kind of level, with the gap that we create between the teams below us that are chasing those positions, suddenly West Ham have got to be in that conversation. West Ham have to be. You have to say West Ham are in the hunt for top six. And then if we can keep going, we've got, as I say, we've got Sheffield United off that. We've got some winnable games coming up. And we've got to play teams around us as well. You start to think, if we can get some results and keep that momentum going, there's nothing to say that West Ham can't be considered for. If there is that elusive fifth place spot for Champions League football, why not? It's that big. Come on, you Irons.